Hey, everybody, we had our Brewer break on Thursday, and the Brewers now head to a 3-city, 10-game road trip as they will take on the Cleveland Indians at a first of 3 on Friday night. We're going to preview this upcoming series with Locked On Guardians. That's going to be coming up. And Eric Kratz, man, that guy gave such big contributions to the Brewers in the 2018 playoffs. He's in the media right now. He's got a new show out, and it's pretty successful. We'll talk to Eric Kratz. We'll talk about some of those old times as well. That's all next here on Locked On Brewers.
You are Locked On Brewers, your daily Milwaukee Brewers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to Locked On Brewers on the Locked On Podcast Network. We are your team every day. Yeah, the Brewers start a series with the Cleveland Indians. They won't be coming home until July 3rd, a home series with the Chicago Cubs. Day games Monday and Tuesday, but, you know, that's a long ways away. That 4th of July holiday just seems like a long ways away. And the Brewers, with this 10-game road trip, I don't want to see them. None of us want to see the Brewers bury themselves on this road trip. That's kind of my fear with the way things have been going as of late. And you just never know what these guys will do. The show is brought to you by Birddogs. Today's show brought to you by Birddogs. Go to birddogs.com/LockedOnMLB. They'll throw out a free custom Birddogs Yeti-style tumbler with every order. Yeah, the offense, I was just looking at the batting averages. And Kratzy's going to talk about, you shouldn't just look at batting averages with the Milwaukee Brewers. I was talking to him a little bit and says, there's other things, other factors in it, but a lot of those analytic numbers aren't doing very well with the Milwaukee Brewers as well. It's still disturbing to me how Arizona stole 7 bases in that game on Wednesday. 7 for 7. If that trend continues, Brewers will never win another game if they keep doing that. Good to have you along here. My name is Chuck Freeman, morning sports anchor at 1310 WIBA, longtime sports talk show host in Wisconsin. Been covering the Brewers for over 40 years for AP Radio. Thank you for everybody joining us here on Locked On Brewers. And I forgot how about that? Did not turn off my phone today. Locked On Brewers. Get it on Google, get it on Apple, get it on Spotify. I list them all the sites, all the download platforms on my Twitter account, Chuck Freeman, FREIMUND. And of course, you can always watch our show, our 30-minute show on YouTube, Locked On Brewers. Search Locked On Brewers, hit the subscribe button, hit that like button, and you'll be alerted every time we drop an episode. Thank you, all you everydayers out there who follow us on Locked On Brewers. We are your team every day. And with the Brewers off on Thursday, the Brewer break, well, it still was a 4-2 homestand. Let's see, they took 3 straight from Pittsburgh, and then they dropped 2 of 3. They dropped 2 of 3 to Arizona, and then they lost those 2 games in Minnesota. So they had 12 of 14 at home, and those 2 games, obviously, in Minnesota, they got beaten both of those games. But I thought the Brewers could get a little more fatter on this homestand. They didn't. And the Cincinnati Reds now appear to be bolting ahead, trying to take a stranglehold. They had the day off on Thursday. They start a weekend series with Atlanta. That's kind of a litmus test for Cincinnati. I'm still not buying into the Reds that they're going to pull away and win 90, 95 games. Remember, this is a team that lost 100 games last year. I don't think they're a great team by any means. Not at all. Maybe the Brewers need to cool them down like they did a few weeks ago. But I know the Reds are getting a lot of national attention. This thing about them being America's team, no. Or the Braves tried that in the 80s. Of course, the original America's team is Dallas Cowboys, but then the Atlanta Braves, who were on, TBS in the early 80s, they were being dubbed as America's team because it was the Cubs and the Braves you could watch on a daily basis on the Super Channel, GN and TBS. I don't know I got on that topic, but Cincinnati Reds, America's team, they haven't been in first place this late in the season in a while. They're a game and a half ahead of the Brewers. Let them have the hype. And I was just reading some comments from the Reds team the other day. Yeah, they won 11 in a row, but I think they need to cool their jets a little bit. Okay, we'll see how things go with the Atlanta Braves this weekend. They're in Cincinnati for a first of a 3-game set on Friday night, so we'll be really monitoring that as well. So anyway, we're going to talk to Erik Kratz here on the show. Man, he put up some nice numbers in the postseason for the Brewers. And then you look at his batting average, he batted like 236 during the regular season. That was a loud 236 for Kratzy in 2018. Because I think that guy came up with so many big clutch hits and big moments and did a nice job behind the plate as a 38-year-old catcher. So we'll talk to Kratzy coming up next here on Locked On Brewers and the Locked On Podcast Network. We are your team every day. The show is brought to you in part by FanDuel. I got my glasses on here if you're watching us on TV because I have to read a script here. I can't read it without my crooked glasses. FanDuel, baseball season in full swing. No better way to get in on all the action than FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Because right now, new customers get a no-sweat first bet up to $1,000. That's up to $1,000 in bonus bets. If your first bet doesn't win, just go to FanDuel.com/lockedon to join today. Maybe you want to get in on the Atlanta Braves this weekend, thinking the Reds are going to have that 11-game winning streak come to an end. Like the Oakland A's. The Oakland A's got off to that 7-game winning streak. Now they've lost like 8 in a row. Should have came right back and taken the A's once they started losing. Kind of fade the A's. Don't miss your chance to snag a no-sweat first bet up to $1,000 when you join FanDuel today. Go to FanDuel.com/lockedon to sign up. FanDuel, the official partner of Major League Baseball. Major League Baseball trademarks used with permission. Okay, we're going to take a quick break and come right back. Locked On Brewers on the Locked On Podcast Network. We are your team every day, and the Brewers do take on the Cleveland Guardians in a first of 3 in Cleveland at the old Jake 610 with that broadcast. Catch every pitch of the Brewers hometown broadcast. SiriusXM, the SXM app. Search Brewers, and you are going to find every broadcast on there. All right, we're going to get to Erik Kratz next here on Locked On Brewers. Welcome back to Locked On Brewers. I'm your host, Chuck Freeman. Erik Kratz is going to join us right now. What an impact he made on the Brewers in 2018. I think of the postseason and the many big hits. He's the host of Foul Territory. It's on noon to 2. Catch it Monday through Friday. Kratzy, I appreciate you joining us here on the show.
No doubt, Chuck. Thanks for having me.
No, I'll tell you what. I looked at your batting average. It was like 238. I mean, you sure it was not 338? I'm telling you, you came up with so many clutch hits that year. Yeah, I mean, the fans loved you. You're always great to deal with the fans and in the locker room with us media and all that. But you had a terrific postseason. I know that too in Colorado.
Yeah, no, it was a experience of a lifetime. Obviously, anytime you can play in the big leagues and get one game from the World Series like we did, losing in Game 7, it's an awesome opportunity. But I think you're right. I think I did hit 338. It wasn't 338. Somebody was pencil whipping my numbers.
I'm telling you, you either got a clutch hit, a home run, or whatever. I mean, I'm telling you what. I looked at that batting average. That's definitely wrong. I don't know where Baseball Reference. What do they know?
Yeah, they don't know anything. They weren't there.
One more thing. Oh yeah, one game away from the World Series. I'm telling you, I think you guys could have beat Boston. Had you got to the series, this was as good a team. And I know the 1982 Brewer team, had 5 Hall of Famers, but this team had it all. And I thought if you got to Boston, you guys were going to win it all that year.
We thought so too. We thought like the best team that we were going to face after we played the Rockies was the Dodgers. We really felt like they posed an issue with their lineup. And we did a great job. We did a great job with our pitching staff. I think they hit under 200 as a team. Issue was we just didn't quite come up with the big hits at the right time. And, you take them to game 7, though, it was epic. Even in game 7, we're like, oh, yeah, we got this. No issue. But it didn't quite happen.
One more thing. If you would have got the middle game of that series in Los Angeles against the Dodgers, I think you guys win that series.
Oh, for sure. I think if we we had a runner on second in game
4, right?
I think it was game 4, and we didn't bunt him over. He didn't end up scoring that guy right there. We ended up going to extra innings. A ball in the dirt that I blocked, but it got away from me a little bit, which got the always enjoyable Manny Machado, I think, to second base. And then we faced, and it was Bellinger. We threw him like 100 straight curveballs, and he fouled some off, blocked some, fouled some off, and he dribbled a base hit through the hole and didn't quite get him at the plate. I mean, we didn't feel like it was a turning point. You're facing Kershaw the next day, but we knew we had 2 more games at home, and we felt like our pitching staff was set up.
Yeah, I thought so too. You won that Friday night and then the Saturday night game 7. But Eric Kratz joining us, played 1 year with the Brewers, 2018, very memorable one here. Now the host of Foul Territory, Monday through Friday at noon to 2, joining us here on Locked On Brewers. I don't know if much you've had a chance to see this current Brewer team, hanging around first place, but the offense is just tough to come by. I mean, what's your impressions of this team?
The offense is tough to come by. I've been fortunate. We also do a show called Brew Crew Territory where because we have so many Brewers on all the time. I mean, we just had Wade Miley on. He's not recurring, but I feel like Wade Miley walks across the back of all of our screens every time. Might see him back here somewhere. Miley might just show up. And then we got Burns, and we got Rowdy, we got Freddie P, we got Big Woo. But you're right. We need some more because the guys that come on Foul Territory, they get hot. Yelly came on Foul Territory. He was hitting like 215, came on during an off day. You see what he's doing. He's almost creating an all-star buzz with him. Maybe not as many homers as you would come to think he would have, but he didn't have a ton of homers in 18 either until about this time in the All-Star break. He started just absolutely dinging some homers out. But the offense, yes. Right now, they've been playing kind of a patchwork pantry type of offense, which is what Counsell does so well. He does a great job of getting the most out of guys. I mean, look, I hit 238 there with Counsell. He's not going to put his guys in positions to fail. The issue is guys keep going down. Guys keep getting thrust into situations where normally he's not going to have him out there. You don't really think you want to have Weimer in right field. Yes, he's going to have some thump, but it's maybe more of a bottom of the order type of bat that can put the ball out of the ballpark. But because Tyron's not around, you got to have someone else step in. Urias is coming back. He had he had a couple extra base hits. I think his bat, along with Willy Adames getting hot, are 2 really spark plugs in that lineup in the sense of they can create havoc on the bases when they get on. They need to start getting on, and they need to be able to get on the base so that Rowdy can drive them in. And it's just not quite happening.
Well, you said when you get these guys in the show, they get hot. So you need to get Urias on every day. You need to get Rowdy on every day. You need to get Adames going. I mean, you need to get all these guys going. Brian Anderson, got to get him restarted. Weimer can hit better than he is. I mean, there's so many guys. You look at the batting averages and there's nobody. I mean, even Owen Miller's cooling off a little bit. It's just amazing. This team's hanging around first place and above the 500 mark.
It's partially what is going on in the NL Central, AL Central. Also, they're not very strong divisions, but with that, there's a lot of parity. There's a lot of teams that are really banging each other, banging up against each other. 1 game up, 2 games back, 3 game sweep, get sweep by 3 games. But, when you start mentioning this lineup and their batting average, I would encourage you to stay away from the batting average and just look at on base and their OPS, which is going to drive their OPS up. But it's something that I think when these guys start getting on base, when Anderson starts, being able to control the zone, he hits so many pitches. He has ability to really make contact on a lot of pitches. It causes him to chase. Rowdy, same way. Rowdy's on base is good compared to his batting average, but again, you got to get these guys on base because in any moment you can pop one out of the Great American Small Park in Cincy. You can pop one out of Milwaukee. There's a lot of good hitters parks.
Well, there's too many times this year, they're going out there and scoring one run or getting down early and not being able to score. And they've been shut out 7 or 8 times this year. It's just, you seem to be confident they're going to turn it around though, Kratzy.
I am confident because they're a team, and this might sound stupid. You're like, oh, on base percentage. They swing. The team swings. And as you make the adjustment, as you get, as Ozzie T, the hitting coach, as he starts getting, these guys locked into where they need to be chase-wise, you're going to have a lot more success. And it's a team. It's really a team dynamic. That's why you're going to see them sweep a 3-game series and then lose to a team like the Athletics, which it hurts. I know everybody thinks, oh, well, everyone's beating the Athletics. The issue is the Athletics don't throw a lot of strikes. And when you face a team like the Brewers, oh, okay, well, we don't throw many strikes. Wow, they're helping us, swing. So it's something about locking that in. And look, you don't walk. You don't get on base because, oh, you have a good eye. You get on base because you do damage. And so when these guys start doing damage, now they're going to start throwing the ball out of zone. And for the most part, it's a young lineup in the sense of it's young for all of them playing together, not age-wise. It's young for all of them playing together and trying to get their role and trying to get their spot in the lineup. And I think they're really going to roll into that going into the All-Star break, and then after the All-Star break, continuing to crush it because starting pitching is going to be there all year round.
Couple more minutes with Eric Kratz, his show Foul Territory, Monday through Friday from noon to 2 Central Time. Joining us, the one-time Brewer, played here in 2018. You caught Corbin Burns in that year. He's a lightning rod among Brewer fans because he's not going out there and putting up the Cy Young numbers of 2 years ago in the contract thing, and we might lose him. How do you see him with the year he's having? Because he's had some good starts, and his last one was very, very bad.
It was not good. It was definitely not good. But he's going to give you the innings. And I know that doesn't mean anything. When you think Corbin Burns, you think, okay, 7 innings, 8 strikeouts, 1, 2, maybe less runs. And that's otherworldly. He can do that, and he will do that. And he would never say it. We talked to him about it. We asked him. I think he's coming on Brew Crew territory here this week or next week, I'm sure. But he's like, we talk about the whole arbitration process. And if you sit there as an organization and you say, well, it doesn't matter. Now he's got to go out and pitch. And as a player, you say, well, it doesn't matter. Now you got to go out there and pitch. There's an edge to being able to be an ace like Corbin Burns is. And when things start going a little bit wrong, or when things aren't maybe necessarily falling your way, or, you don't feel 100%. And then you think about, okay, well, my teammates, they're behind me. That's all that matters. But the organization, are they really behind me? Like they blew me up. They said the reason they didn't make the playoffs was because of 2 or 3 of his starts in August last year. That was the exact verbiage in arbitration from the person who was fighting on the Brewers side. And it's like, really? Like, you think it was me? You think I was the one who had a 2.3 ERA on the season, and you think I was the one? So I think there's some of that. I don't know. He would never admit to it. The organization would never admit to it. But there has to be that continuity for him to just continue to get on a roll. And I think also, now that he sees Wade Miley's back, now that he sees Tehran's doing well, now that he sees Colin Ray is putting the ball on the ground and getting a ton of ground balls and giving you 5-6 innings, I think it takes some of that weight off of his back. And then when Big Woo comes in and he starts throwing again, and Hauser comes back, all this stuff, I think it takes some of the weight off a guy who feels like he might need to do it all. And the organization might make him feel like, well, you do need to do it all, but we don't think that highly of you. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, but with Burns, though, do major leaguers look at it like this? Hey, you know what? Okay, the organization might not want me to stay, but I still got to go out there. I'm still an independent contractor. I'm playing for my next contract. I still got to go out there, not only be professional, but showcase my arm for the other major league teams.
For sure. And he's definitely doing that. And there's no doubt that he's doing that. But that becomes a selfish endeavor. And Burnsy and Big Woo are like two of the most unselfish people. And anytime you get that type of, and obviously this is all my words, this is not Burnsy's or Big Woo's words. This is just, kind of a look into what could happen. If you were to ask me, is Corbin Burns going to have a below 3 ERA from today on, I would take the under for sure.
Wow. Okay. Kratzy, appreciate it as always. Thank you for much success with your shows and all that. And we will talk to you down the line. It was great having you on.
Yeah, absolutely, Chuck. I appreciate it. And my book is coming out July 11th. I forgot to say, Tao of the Backup Catcher. Let me see it. Yep, right there.
Okay.
The Tao, T-A-O, of the Backup Catcher.
What's a little insight? What's it about without giving everything away?
Pretty much my super mediocre career, culminating in the 2018 playoffs with the Brewers, but it just kind of bounces around, and it's other stories of backup catchers that have played, from the 70s to me all the way in 2020 when I finished.
Wow. I was sad when they traded to the Giants. I mean, that's where you went from here. And I'm like, man.
I was also sad. But you got Yasmani Grandal. So that's the beauty of – but we made it farther in the playoffs than you did with Yasmani, and you paid him $17.2 million, and you paid me a couple dollars.
All right. Eric Kratz from Foul Territory joining us. I'm Chuck Freeman, Locked On Brewers on the Locked On Podcast Network. We're going to come right back and to preview the Brewers series against the Guardians next here on Locked On Brewers. Welcome back to Locked On Brewers. Your host, Chuck Freeman here. Going to finish up here as Jeff Ellis is going to join us from Locked On Guardians. The Brewers start a 3-game series, a 10-game road trip, the first 3 in Cleveland against the Guardians. Jeff Ellis joining us right now. Jeff, how you doing? Appreciate you coming aboard. And looks like, you guys are getting fat a little bit on Oakland, something we couldn't do. We lost 3 in a row, but you won the first 3 games. We're taping this as the Thursday game is going on, but so far so good. You guys are playing pretty well.
Yeah, it would be nice if they can win today because that'd be their first sweep of the year. They have struggled to be pretty consistent and put things together. No sweeps. This is our second time facing Oakland too, and no sweeps. So we're hoping that they'll get that done. It's 4, and if they win today, it would be 4 in a row, which they haven't done all year. After a rough series against Arizona and a rough series against San Diego, kind of a rough year. They're only a game out, so it's kind of surprising. We'll definitely take it. We keep hoping to see some more consistency with this team, though.
Yeah, there's some similarities. Just like I was talking with the Lockdown Twins the other day. Similarities between our team and the Twins, you guys in Cleveland, or us guys and the Guardians, because you're a couple of games under the 500 mark, yet you're right there, a game and a half out.
Yeah, it's we're trying to track down the Twins, but it's every time we seem to have one of these nice little stretches, then we have like 2 bad series. So maybe it's a good time for Milwaukee because we're coming off a good stretch. So now it's about time for us to struggle. But offensively, they're doing a lot better. That was kind of the big bugaboo for most of the first 2 months of the year. They were the worst offensive team in baseball by just about every measure. They still can't hit home runs at all. We are 20%. We have 20%. No, not 20, 16% less home runs than the Washington Nationals, who are the 29th ranked team. We don't really walk either. So it's all about that batted ball skill and kind of degree of batted ball luck. As we know, there's always some degree of luck when you put the ball in play. So they're just right now, we're seeing, Josh Naylor has been great. Jose Ramirez is Jose Ramirez. Andres Jimenez is starting to get it together. They just called up Bo Naylor. So that offense had been the issue, and now it's kind of the pitching staff just due to sheer injuries. We have 3 rookies in the rotation right now, all really interesting rookies, but 3 rookies in there. And, we just got the news on Tristan McKenzie, and I'm kind of worried he won't pitch all year.
Well, if you think you guys are bad offensively, you haven't seen the Milwaukee Brewers. Look at some of the numbers. We got guys in the starting lineup hitting 146, the heart of the order. Last 200 at bats, like 163. It is just brutal. I mentioned Ramirez. I always liked that guy. Third base, solid, hard nose. Got 11 home runs on this season. But you say he's starting to heat up a little bit?
Yeah, he's like I said, the big thing for them is Josh Naylor is, now they have 2 guys with OPSs over 800. Over the last 30 days, Naylor and Jose Ramirez and Will Brennan are all over 900 for an OPS. So those are the 3. Now, Brennan left yesterday's game with a shoulder injury, so we're hoping in Cleveland that's not an extended issue because he's been one of their better hitters. But they're definitely in a situation now where it's like, Miles Straw has really struggled. Bo Naylor had a good game last night, but his first 2 games left a lot to be desired. We're very jealous of the Brewers' ability to seemingly turn every catcher they get into an above-average defender. No matter, my host and I joked about how Omar Narvaez was not a good defender, gets to Milwaukee. William Contreras, not a good defender, gets to Milwaukee. Cleveland has had such catching issues. We're kind of jealous of you guys and your catching coaching that goes on there.
Well, I hate to bash my team here. 0 World Series titles ever. So, there's just not enough postseason success here. But, our catcher, William Contreras, doing a nice job behind the plate, but 7 stolen bases yesterday by Arizona. I mean, they tied a franchise high. They're running all over the place. So, I don't know how you guys are on the base paths, but, man, obviously Arizona detected something that, that they can run all day on the Brewers.
Cleveland isn't very aggressive, which is weird because they have lots of speed. This was a year ago, I think, a top 5 stolen base team, and now they their leader has 12. They've not been as aggressive throughout the last 2 months, and it's been one of those things that's a bit of a bugaboo for us as hosts. We talk about we don't understand why they're not more aggressive on the base paths, being the youngest team in baseball and having a lot of guys with speed up and down the lineup. I mean, Josh Naylor and Josh Bell are probably your only 2 guys that don't have at least average speed. I mean, even Bo Naylor, the catcher, is at least an average speed guy. So they have a lot of it. They just, for some reason, aren't leaning into it.
Shane Bieber is going to be on the hill coming up on Friday night against the Brewers. And by the way, we're talking to Jeff Ellis from Locked On Guardians. Chuck Freeman here on Locked On Brewers on the Locked On Podcast Network. We are your team every day. Bieber saw his record 5-4. Have not seen him pitch on the extra innings package yet this year. Saw him pitch a lot last year. Of course, we love him. Tell us a little bit about his season.
I think is when most Cleveland fans would call it a disappointing one. He is not missing bats. So for a guy who tied Randy Johnson's record of most games in a row with 8 or more Ks, he's only struck out 8 or more players in 2 games this year. His K rate has been bottom 10 in baseball. He's just not missing bats. Now, he's able to be effective without that, but he's not able to be the dominator he was. Like, as a Guardians fan, a baseball fan in general, it's like this offseason, you kind of looked at the pitchers that were going to be free agents, not this year, but next year. Burns, Woodruff, and Bieber were the 3 that always came to mind. For Bieber, like I said, he's still getting it done to a degree, but instead of being like that number 1 he was in 2020, even to a degree in 2021, he's been kind of a good 3 or a passable 2 because he can't get a third time through the order. His last game he lost because in the 7th or the 8th, they needed him to eat some innings. The bullpen had been used up, and he gave up, was it 3 runs or 5 runs in the 8th? And he, without missing bats, he just can't get there.
Did he give up 3 home runs in that start too?
I think so. Yeah, and all maybe 2 of them were late. Maybe they weren't all late, but he's only struck out more than 3 times this year. Yeah. If you really want to go down, he is just not missing bats at all, and it's a concern. It's why a lot of people are kind of like, hey, maybe they should try and trade him, especially as free agency approaches.
35-38 going into the final game against the A's on Thursday. But you, like anybody else in that division, has got to feel good that, hey, a few games to the 500 mark, but you're still in the thick of the race in that division.
Yeah, it's kind of amazing for a team that has been this inconsistent. It's had some big injuries. That offensively, like I said, was kind of non-existent. It was an offense that was the worst in baseball through the middle of May. To be a game out, you kind of look at it and go, okay. Luckily, we play in the worst division in baseball by a significant margin. I know the NL Central is trying to compete for that crown as well, but being able to say you're a game out with everything that has gone wrong is kind of, it's unbelievable.
A lot of Brewer fans heading down to the Jake. I remember when that thing opened in the mid-90s, it was a crown jewel, just a beautiful ballpark. That along with Camden Yards. Is the Jake still the Jake? Is it still, it's something else now, obviously, but I always call it the Jake. Tell us a little bit about is it still, it's got that aura among it?
Yeah, I think it's still a great park. It's got some nice lines. They're doing some massive renovation. They've cut back on seats. We are not a great attendant. Well, I'll change that. This year, their attendance is up like 20%. Attendance has been pretty solid this year compared to years past. I don't know if it's because there's a fun young team a year ago or what's worked out. So the attendance numbers are trending up in Cleveland, but they're kind of in this in-between stage. A big renovation is coming. They've got some fun plans. And what I like is I'm going to be a little sad when the Terrace Club goes away. I don't know why. As a kid, like that always got my attention. It was kind of the glass restaurant that hung out because I always looked for things like that. It's like I remember going to Old Tiger Stadium with the cages or the Royals Field with the fountains. Like having something that made you different was always caught my attention. If you are a Milwaukee fan, you want to check out some of the individual, specifically in right field vendors. They have some small vendor shops that do kind of like the Taste of Cleveland restaurants who pop up in there. So I would recommend that to any Brewers fan going down. It's a fun area to go, especially those are the standing room only tickets. If you want to save some money and you got the ability to do it, I would recommend those tickets. Go enjoy that area. So
fans are going to go down, drive down. It's not like the old days of the Jake where sell out every night.
Yeah, well, I don't know if they've had a sellout since opening day. They often don't. So, yeah, they've been pretty consistently bottom 5 in attendance, even when they've been good. Like for as much as people want to complain about, Cleveland hasn't won a championship since '48 in baseball. We're pretty long drought there, and the ups and downs and the low payroll, which I think is a valid argument. It is, an excessively low payroll. There just hasn't been the attendance numbers there. And like I said, this year it's trending up, though. I don't want to bury Cleveland and the fans who are going to games when we're seeing the numbers go up. But yeah, it's pretty consistently been a bottom 5 team, even though they've been, in the postseason hunt every year but one since Terry Francona came to town. And was it 2013, maybe 2014? I can't remember the exact year now.
Very good, Jeff. Thank you very much. Good stuff. And we will talk to you down the line. And, this is going to be a fun series. I think it's going to be. I just don't think there's going to be a lot of runs scored because both teams are not. Neither team's got a guy regular hitting over 300. That's amazing. Naylor might be the best hitter at 295.
Probably, yeah. It's going to be interesting to see. It comes down to those pitching matchups. I would have to look ahead. Cleveland struggled a little bit more versus lefties, but Wade Miley did no hit them a few years ago, so there is that. But yeah, it should be a fun series. Like, I've always appreciated the Cleveland-Milwaukee ties, even dating back, if anyone's a big historian, to the movie Major League, which was filmed in Milwaukee, set in Cleveland.
1988, filmed in Milwaukee, yes.
So you've got that. They're very similar cities as someone who lives in Milwaukee now after living in Cleveland. So it's going to be fun. I root for both these teams to make the postseason. And thanks for having me on here to chat a little bit. We'll have to chat next time they face again. Yes,
I was there in '87 when Farrell snapped the 39-game hitting streak of Paul Molitor in '87 as he was gunning for DiMaggio. And then Mesa gave up Robin Yount's 3,000th hit back in 1992. That was in the old county stadium. So
I remember listening to that game on the radio.
Oh, yeah. I remember being at that game as a weeknight game. So I had to get up early the next morning. Hey, thanks a lot. We'll talk to you down the line, my friend. Thank you very much. All right. That is Jeff Ellis, some Locked On Guardians, Brewers, and Cleveland Guardians coming up. Still got to get used to saying the Guardians. That's coming up 6:10 with that first pitch on Friday night. And, of course, you catch every pitch of the Brewers home broadcast. SiriusXM, the SXM app. Select the Milwaukee Brewers, and you're going to hear every broadcast. That's going to do it for me, Chuck Freeman. Locked On Brewers on the Locked On Podcast Network. We are your team every day. Enjoy your weekend, everybody. We'll talk to you all on Sunday night.